My people, welcome to another interesting segment. This video is going to be mind-blowing. So grab a cup of coffee if you can. Hold your seatbelt tight because there is a lot of information to get out of this video that will bring about clarity, structure, and perspective for our future as Southern Cameroonians. We are going to listen to Barrister Harmony Bobga. This is a legal mind from the Southern Cameroons. This is the man who spearheaded the movement in 2016, which led to Ambazonia. So he is a brilliant legal mind from the Southern Cameroons. With that being said, if you are looking for solution, genuine solution, you don't just want to talk the talk, you want to walk the walk with clarity, your vote of confidence is subscribing on this platform so you don't miss out every time a video is uploaded. Go ahead and share the link with friends and relatives so each and every one of us stay connected, because if we have a collective perspective on our story, to make progress will be easy. Now we'll go ahead and listen to Barrister Harmony Bobga. Before we do that, you've heard Issa Tchiroma Bakari has hired a spokeswoman or a spokesperson for Issa Tchiroma Bakari. Remember, I shared with us on this platform that if I were Issa Tchiroma Bakari, the first thing I'll do is get a PR team. Now, a spokesperson is part of a PR team, but the roles are different. A PR team shapes the conversation, shapes the narrative, while a spokesperson only speaks on behalf of Issa Tchiroma Bakari. So a complete PR team that shapes the conversation is what he really needs. But I'm glad that they are listening, and at least this is a first step. But I think a PR team will help enormously, because today we have information everywhere. The media is saturated, and you need to curate the message on a specific platform using a PR team. So let's go ahead and listen to Barrister Harmony Bobga.
Let's fight for this after we'll talk. Do you see any logic in that? What, in your opinion, should Ambazonia do? Join them to fight for La République du Cameroon? Now, take note. Every time a change has been effected in that country, Ambazonians had to die for it. Should this be a cause for Ambazonians to join?
I say absolutely no. A categorical no.
This is a confirmation of what I said initially, that based on the case we are dealing with, it is irrational to have someone from the Southern Cameroons join La République du Cameroon to go fight the government of La République du Cameroon. Today, you will have clarity on where you find yourself through a framework. Remember, I told you we are going to handle this issue using frameworks. La République du Cameroon, let me make this clear before we jump into the next thing Barrister Harmony said. La République du Cameroon doesn't have jurisdictional power to grant us independence or freedom. We are not citizens of Cameroon by legitimacy. We are citizens of Cameroon by learned acceptance. We have been programmed to believe we are Cameroonians. So we have the ID card, we have the passport, we have the birth certificate. We have grown up together with citizens of La République du Cameroon. And by default, we believe we are Cameroonians. Whereas legally, We are not. We are going to listen to what Barrister Harmony Bobga said. My people, we are not correcting elders because they are wrong. We are upgrading the vocabulary so the world hears us correctly. Let me repeat that again. We are not correcting elders. We know our culture. We know the society that we come from. We are not correcting elders because they are wrong. We are upgrading the vocabulary so that the world can hear us correctly. And why is that important? If you use the wrong word, diplomats dismiss your case instantly. They will classify your case under the wrong category. And you hear things like, go sort it out with Paul Biya. So we want to dialogue with La République du Cameroon because of how we frame our case. We have one of the best case of incomplete decolonization in the world. The case is so good. All we need is a framework and a structure to present this case with no emotion. And we will win even legally. So let's take a listen.
In Southern Cameroon and in the diaspora, we have never been part of La République du Cameroon. There is no act of union.
That is what I've been clamoring on this platform. I'm so glad this is the first elder, a legal mind from the Southern Cameroons that has openly said this. We are not citizens of La République du Cameroon. I want you to hear that again.
No. A categorical no. In Southern Cameroon and in the diaspora, we have never been part of La République du Cameroon. There is no act of union.
The idea that those from Southern Cameroons, a UN trust territory, with no union treaty, are citizens of La République du Cameroon. This is not by legitimacy. It is through learned acceptance. We have the passport, we have the ID card, we've grown together, we have the birth certificate. On it, it is written Cameroon. So by default, you should believe you are a Cameroonian. But that is not the reality. And I'm so glad that this is the first time in the history of Southern Cameroons I've heard a legal mind like Barrister Harmony Bobga openly say this. We are making progress. And this is what I've been clamoring on this platform for months now. Know who you are, know your story. That is how we make progress. Let's take a break while we listen to Issa Tchiroma Bakari's spokesperson. And then we will continue with Barrister Harmony Bobga and then present to you the right legal framework that reflects our story. Let's take a listen.
Yeah.
Is he going to be formally sworn in as president?
He did it where he is.
Oh, he has been sworn in?
Yes.
When was that? Because I had no idea. I mean, I have been speaking with some of them.
I don't know, but I will ask him again to give me the date, because this is what he told me he was going to do. So I think, he is not in the country.
Yeah, I know that, yes.
Yeah.
So he was actually sworn, Issa Tchiroma has been sworn in the where he is.
Yes. You know that he is in a very particular situation, so he can sworn on in the way he can where he is.
Right.
And this, because he is the one who is elected, and then that will be correct. Yeah.
So why is she still calling himself president-elect instead of saying the president of Cameroon?
Because he wants to make a difference between the other person who is saying that he's a president and he.
Wonder, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Issa Tchiroma Bakari has already been sworn in as president of La République du Cameroon. So as we speak, we have two presidents in Cameroon. Two presidents. And some ask the question, why is it that we talk about La République du Cameroon that much? Because through learned acceptance, even most of us in the diaspora, some who have not yet become citizens of the country where they find themselves, they still go around with passports written on it Cameroon. Look at what the Amazonian crisis went through. Like, we've lost thousands of people. They haven't achieved their objective. And so by default, many will either remain on exile or have to come back home. And we have to do something. We can't just let go after we've lost thousands of people, surrender our faith to La République du Cameroon when they don't have jurisdiction, they don't have the authority, they don't have the power over us legally. They've extended their administration. It's not occupation. They've extended their administration into our land. Let's listen to Barrister, and then we are going to make some slight adjustments. Remember, our elders are not wrong. We'll upgrade the vocabulary so that we can have perspective and make progress together as Southern Cameroonians. So let's take a listen.
They went to the international and the Constitution, the International Court of Justice, and the basis upon which they laid their claim on Bakassi was that we were part of German Cameroon. That's so dumb. It is either intellectual dishonesty or gross incompetence in reading simple stuff and interpreting it. Because after the First World War, the German possessions were completely and definitively liquidated. We have is that
is the first confusion. I told you the problem is not with us. The problem and the confusion is with La République du Cameroon. You see, just like how many francophone countries in Africa are struggling, just reading and understanding basic stuff, they don't get it. Their assumption was German Cameroon was a country. I'm saying this because we have some Anglophones that if an issue concerns Southern Cameroons, they won't get involved. They won't. They will speak down on their people. This is what slavery, slave trade, colonialism has conditioned us to distrust one another. If a Francophone says something, it is true. If an Anglophone says it, it is wrong. There are people out here today that condemned everything that was going on in the Southern Cameroons. They condemned their leaders. But when Issa Tchiroma Bakari showed up to become president of Cameroon, they came out. Again, I'm not blaming anyone. That is why we are making these videos. This is time for change. And it will start with self-love. Love yourself. When you love yourself, you trust yourself. And then when you trust yourself, you can trust a brother, you can trust a sister. In spite of what Atangan Jipo and the rest are doing, there is no one that will ever love you like your own. Care about you, invest the time, like I'm doing, like Barrister, like many others, to ensure that we have a place that we can call our own. Even after all these years of confusion, none will ever love you like your own. My father was born in 1929. So my father is 4 years older than Pobia, my biological father. He lived through the mandate era, the trusteeship era, through the plebiscite, through 1972 through 1984. My father saw everything that happened in Cameroon. In as much as they went through these changes, they never used the proper language to define what was happening with us. So, love yourself, my people. We will make significant progress. These people need to be educated. They need to be guided. English has been the tool controlling the global economic engine for the past 300 years. So you don't even know what you have. You think it's just Anglophone. English, not French. When Macron visits the United States, he knows. When he visits Britain, he knows. And it didn't start today. From the time of General Charles de Gaulle, when Hitler had occupied France, he was on exile, making speeches in the United States and in Britain. These are the people who held his hand to help restore France. So you should know what it means when you speak English. You can see it even in Africa. See Nigeria, see Kenya, see Ghana. These are all English-speaking nations. We are the only group of people that speaks English in the world that feels this way about ourselves. This is an honest observation after studying every nation on earth that speaks English. And my goal is that we wake up, that we rise, that we become who we were created to be, and get to write a different story. So they assume that German Cameroon was a country. That is their story, that is their history, and they teach this even in school. We were divided during the mandate and trusteeship era. In 1961, we came back together. So that is why your 20th May is called Reunification Day. Not Unification Day, but reunification. So the assumption is we came back together. If that is the case, Chad, Equatorial Guinea, Central Africa, Gabon, parts of Nigeria has to come back together. So maybe they have hope that all these territories will come back together so we can have that German colony that they assume was a country. We are going to listen to Barrister, but at least that pillar, that is very, very important, because I've heard that. I've studied that even in their books, and I've heard it come out of their mouth. They really believe that. So some people are thinking we are trying to cause instability in this area. That is not what is happening here. This is a UN trust territory. And it has nothing to do with destabilizing Africa or it's affecting the One Africa agenda. No, these are a people with defined borders. The United Nations still recognizes us as a trust territory till today. But let's listen to Barrister. There's a lot, Roland. Let's keep going.
even the majority of Southern Cameroonians, because we have all enlisted in the University of Warsaw, instead of sitting down, researching and cross-checking information the traditional way, and again, because our population is quite youthful, people don't know the truth. More than 70%, and this is a conservative estimate, of Ambazonians were born after we had been overtaken and occupied. So they don't.
You see, that is one word I want you to write down and never use that word. Occupied. International law and international diplomats are going to flag our case when we use the word occupied. One bad word before international diplomats moves your case from one category to a completely different category. And then you hear things like, go and sort it out with Paul Biya. We shouldn't say La République du Cameroon occupied our country, occupied Southern Cameroons. Rather, we say La République du Cameroon extended their administration without a legal union treaty. This is the kind of language the international community understands. When you say they occupied your country, remember, we were not a country yet. We were being administered as a trust territory under the UN by Britain. So we shouldn't use the word La République occupied, because if you look at the plebiscite and the events that happened afterwards, Britain writing a letter to Amadou Ahidjo saying our administration ends on October 1st, 1961. We can't use the word occupy. Our case is so good, we don't have to use emotional language. And we will win. Let's keep listening.
I don't even know, but someone like myself, I was born on the 28th of June, 1958. That was in Southern Cameroon, not even West Cameroon. And by some stroke of luck, my dad used to be Chief Clerk and Paymaster General of the Common Printing Press when I was still in class 4 in primary school. So almost all the gazettes of Southern Cameroon and West Cameroon, I had the opportunity of reading them from primary school. And I knew the details of our transition. My dad was also a member of the Cameroon Youth Movement that was fighting the Igbos that were terrorizing us. So I come from the crucible of a revolution begun against me, but asphyxiated or attempted to be asphyxiated all along by the Cameroon government in collaboration with the NATO members led by France. What is this?
And Barrister has lived through this pain firsthand. You can tell from his tone. Our fathers have gone through a lot in the hands of La République du Cameroon. So it's hard for them to speak without being emotional. So another thing we have to stay away from is accusing Franks when we are talking about Southern Cameroons. There is no legal proof for such accusations. We are dealing with international law. There are some conversations we can have at home, not on the media. To accuse the NATO members, at the end of the day, you want these people to hear you. Our goal is not to spread propaganda. Our goal is that we have a nation that we can be proud of. France has nothing to do with the territory of Southern Cameroons. Let me describe our story. I know we've used family. Some people have even used marriage, and I said that was off. Don't use marriage. You can't use marriage without a marriage certificate. This is our story. Imagine the UN is a family union. This is the head of the family union. We have an uncle in the family that is being assigned. Britain is that uncle. That uncle is being told, your job is to raise your nephew until he becomes of age to take over his late father's property. That is the job given to Britain. So Britain doesn't have authority over Southern Cameroons. The UN does. That is why they say we were a trust territory under the UN. Not a trust territory under Britain, not a trust territory under France. Use the right language. Diplomats, pay attention to that. If not, you move your case into a different bracket. Or they dismiss you altogether as someone that is not serious. We have to separate the pain we went through during slavery and slave trade, during colonialism, and face the facts about our story. Do you understand? That is why I detach from every emotion when I'm dealing with our case. When my relative was kidnapped, everybody was panicking. I said, calm down. Put all the family together. Create a WhatsApp group. Everyone get in there. We'll find one person to speak with the kidnappers. Every information in the family will go through that one person. And any money that we will send to the kidnappers go through that one person, so that we can control information. Number one, remain calm. Some people have given money and they'll still kill your relatives. So regardless, let's follow principle. I had read a book on how to deal with kidnappers. So we followed everything to the T. And lucky enough, my relative left that camp. They've gone through hell. But regardless of what we are going through, my wife and my family knows I'm not driven by emotion. I deal with what I see. Whether you shout, whether you go down, whether you blame people, whatever you say will not change anything. So be calm, don't be emotional, and deal with the situation like it is. We have this in our community everywhere. France everywhere. At the end of the day, they look at us as people who are not serious. So let's keep listening.
The issue is that God has ordained that La République du Cameroon is our neighbor. And I can cite historical examples. When the French fought the Bassas and the Bamenikis, they crossed over to southern Cameroon and took refuge. The French could not move into southern Cameroon to pursue them. Reason being that we're a separate country. So
that word, we were a separate country. We were a UN trust territory under British administration. So Britain itself did not have sovereignty over us. Britain was the administering authority. We're not a separate country. we're a UN trust territory. Diplomats understand that. Do you understand, my people? When I listen to things like this, I mean, I don't blame the international community if they are not paying attention to what we are saying. But from now moving forward, they will hear us. They will hear us and we shall be free. That is why I encourage our people, stay away from that label, Ambazonia, because flags don't give you freedom. Guns doesn't give you freedom. We've tried the guns, right? It doesn't give you freedom. Precision, clarity, framework, wordings. Remaining calm, not emotional when you explain your issue. This is what gives you freedom. And the world respects you. And the day we will be done with this, we will walk out of that room, with a suit and tie or whatever we choose to dress in. And we'll be like, this is how you move the world. They will hear us.
Is there any of these people hiding behind the smoke screen of Cameroon establishment who can show us an act of union that has changed the situation? No. But remember, when it will become hot, and it is becoming hot already, and I had been talking about this for the past 9 years, that La République du Cameroon is going to implode. Their refugees will come over to southern Cameroon, and on strict humanitarian reasons, we cannot torture them. We cannot reject them. But if they are rebels, we can extradite them back to their place. Because if Ngongo crosses the boundary, he has to go back and face the powder keg that has exploded under his feet.
One thing I like about Barrister's presentation, I'll give him credit for that. Number one, he lets us understand we are not legally citizens of La République du Cameroon. This is the first time in the history of the Southern Cameroons I've heard a legal mind, a brilliant senior citizen, clearly states that. Number two, he's clear. Do not participate in the elections of La République du Cameroon. Whatever is going in there is none of our business. Kudos for that. And I think Professor Carson Anyangwe said the same thing. We have no business participating in their politics. This is the realization. And young people who think you know better, let's listen to our elders. I'm the one who wrote the book, The Cameroon Dream, because I grew up with the one Cameroon. They make sure they sing the song so it gets into your ear and all of a sudden you begin to believe it. La République du Cameroon, this is just sheer ignorance, because at least if they had a game plan, they would have at least ratified the union and then go on to play that game. You won't ratify a union. Foncha said, I went around trying to get him to ratify the union to no avail. And you said they are smart. They are not. You can't change from a federal system to a unitary system if these were two territories that came together without notifying the UN. They didn't do that. 1984, Pobia, the same thing. Changed the name from the United Republic of Cameroon to the Republic of Cameroon without notifying the UN. And then you turn around and say they are smart. When you look at what Hitler did, you look at what is happening in North Korea, these guys are strategic in what they do. These people are just reactionary. So Issa Tchiroma being quiet keeps them confused, because they don't know how to deal with silence, because that is their number one weapon. That is how this archaic dictatorship machine runs. They stay quiet, wait for you to make a mistake. They go into the laws, look at some of the loopholes in the laws, and then hold you accountable for what you did. And so Issa Tchiroma being quiet is one of the things I'll give him credit for. Be quiet for some time. They get confused. When they are expecting you to act, do not act. Pobia is old. Without Pobia, nothing happens in that government. This is how dictatorship systems are built. It's built around one man. And so if that one man is inactive, the entire machine is confused. That's why you see when foreign nations, or maybe when individuals in other nations say, oh, we want the US, we want the NATO to come help. When they come in and crack that regime, you see everything falls apart. Why? Because everything was on the pillar, one pillar, that dictator. So Pobia is inactive. Those people have been trained to work with that machine, with that corruption machine, so they will not understand what to do. Do you understand what is going on? When you understand these things, you don't say, oh, this man is smart, they are wise. Nah, you stay calm. When they are expecting you to react, do not.
We would insist, therefore, that we welcome His Excellency Issa Tchiroma's olive branch, which to me is an offer for us to dialogue unconditionally about the predicament of Southern Cameroon.
That is another strong point. Dialogue with Issa Tchiroma or dialogue with La République du Cameroon. We screw ourselves up. Remember, I told you this is an issue of truth, jurisdiction, and then justice. The truth is, there was no ratified union treaty. The treaty was supposed to be ratified. It was supposed to be deposited at the UN. The plebiscite was conducted in Southern Cameroon by the UN, not by La République du Cameroon and the UN. In essence, we don't have anything to dialogue with La République du Cameroon because La République du Cameroon is not the proper jurisdiction. Barrister understands that. If you go before any court to judge a case, the first thing the judge will find out is if that court is the proper jurisdiction to preside over that case. La République du Cameroon, Yaoundé doesn't have jurisdiction. They don't have jurisdictional power to preside over our case. So we take our case to the wrong court. Do you understand? This is a case to word it properly, and I'll show you the right court we are supposed to be going to solve our problem. Do you understand? Jurisdiction. If we go on public media like this and then we talk about unconditional dialogue with Issa Tchiroma Bakari, again, my people, this is more than 65 years. And I'm struggling with my team to bring about clarity on these issues. When you say we have to dialogue with La République before international diplomats, they immediately categorize your case under domestic politics. And they will tell you, go talk with Pobia. Pobia doesn't have jurisdiction. Why? Because this is very important. Because we want to govern ourselves. We want to lead a nation. And they want to find out if you really understand your story. Can you demonstrate that you understand what is going on? That will be the first sign to show the UN that you are fit to govern yourselves, and you will handle other diplomatic issues, political issues that might arise within your country when you take over full administration. That's why you see I'm very particular about our story, every detail about our story. The wordings, even if I use the wrong words, because that is what our community has been using, I always make sure I put it in quotes. And then I clarify so that others are not misled. But very soon we will not use those words anymore in the community as we find light. Let's keep listening.
And the idea of a trust is that you hold a legal title for a period, and when the beneficiary comes of age, you transfer that legal title to them. Britain failed to do that for us. And we cannot blame them, because a lot of people don't even understand. There is no difference between France and Britain. All of their royalties are connected to the Germanic House of Hanover.
That is accusation. That is emotional language. You see that? You are blaming France, saying Britain sold us. We've used that. That is not the right word to use as anyone who thinks they want to get to a place where they can help us solve this problem. Stay away from such rhetoric. France is not a Germanic tribe. I think I've taught that here. Britain is a Germanic tribe. Germany is a Germanic tribe. America predominantly is influenced by Germanic tribe. France has been influenced by Germanic tribe, but France is not a Germanic tribe. These are business people. France has always learned a lot from Britain and Germany and America, and that is how they have survived in Europe while maintaining their colonies abroad. Do you understand? We stay away from such language. When I see a leader in our community emerging, I'm so happy, especially like Barrister. But when he goes into this propaganda, I mean, it breaks my heart.
So their collaboration is constant. And we in Southern Cameroon were used as a trade-off. So we were traded off to the French because the French also traded off the Ewe people to the British.
That is another language that you don't use. You don't use that, my brother. Again, we want to be free. We are not here to prove a point. We are not here to be right. We are not here to prove to people that we know too much. We are here to state our claim, have the victory, build our nation, and leave a legacy for our children. Let that be our focus. We stay away from other people's business unless it's somehow connected to ours. There is no proof that we were traded, and we don't use such language. Britain sold us. We are a UN trust territory under British supervision. Britain was the administering authority. They didn't have sovereignty to sell us. When you use the word Britain sold us, we give our power away. They This was a mandate territory. This was a trusteeship territory under UN supervision. After everything Germany owned in Africa was seized, they were placed under UN. And these nations were assigned to administer. And that is why we think subconsciously, psychologically, that La République has power over us because of what we've told ourselves through stories like this. The first battle is in the mind. When you win in your mind, you win in real life. I refuse to think I'm a victim. If my case is this accurate, I don't need to bend it. I don't need to make myself look small. No. Again, I'm a Tika man with an Anglophone. My Tika heritage is stronger than my British colonial heritage. But again, English runs the world. Every sector that has transformed the 21st century runs on English. It's a privilege. A Francophone man can never be more than you. You only surrender that power to him based on the words that you use. And so you see our people getting up and they are excited when they see Issa Tchiroma Bakare. None of this should move you. I know Cho Ayaba did some things that some people were not proud of, including Seseko Ayok Tabe. I mean, when leaders like that show up, we should be happy for them. Again, we've hated ourselves so much. We don't know it. We don't have love for ourselves. We love an outsider. We have been programmed to love outsiders. That's why we hope that someone will come help us. And we can't help ourselves, even after 553 years of associating with these white folks. Think about it. Seseko Ayok Tabe went to prison. All of a sudden, new presidents emerged. Nelson Mandela was in prison for 27 years. His people fought the cause. They didn't assume his position. If Ambazonia was the cause you were fighting for, you would have respected the presidency of Ayok Seseko Tabe. Character. Even as you watch me on this platform, whatever you hear me say, you see, I quote people, I bring them here, I quote them, I give them respect where respect is due. This is how we build a civilized society. Most of you that have had advanced degrees, you know about the laws of plagiarism. Using content without citation. Give people credit. Whatever I say here, the framework I'm giving you, when you quote that somewhere, like I said one, we are not Cameroonians by legitimacy, but through learned acceptance. When you are quoting this somewhere, make sure that you reference me. It makes you more credible. That is why I quote people. That's why Gojin Dinka was hidden. Because we are talking about Ayok Seseko Tabe and Cho Ayaba. But Gojin Dinka, the founder of this movement, people wanted to bury him and take over everything. This kind of society will only breed more corrupt people. Whatever you are building will be discarded as well. The next generation will come discard what you're doing. When we build respecting those who came before us, we lay a solid foundation for generations to come. That is why I went way back within our Tika lineage to find Titam II, Ncharien, the Ngonsos, the people that are our ancestors, respected. We might not want to continue because we didn't understand our political status, but we respect figures like Ninjong Funti and what they did. Gojin Dinka was a brilliant man. He was a brilliant man, but his ideas were all over the place. But I'll still give him credit for sparking our curiosity to think that there was a problem here, including Professor Kasna Yangbe. We must respect those who came before us. Whatever they did that was good, we take it. Whatever they did that was wrong, we make adjustments and we move forward. But let's not build a society where we can't honor those who came before us. You never build anything that will last. See, today, Americans still honor George Washington, Abraham Lincoln. They talk about them. Classrooms, conferences, seminars, they honor their heroes. That is the first step towards showing your people that what you will build will be different from what La Republic is building. Beginning with true speech, honesty, giving credit where credit is due. If La Republic tomorrow decide to use that name, the Cameroon Dream, they should give me credit for that. I coined out that word, the Cameroon Dream, and wrote a book on it. A 20 years economic plan to move that entire nation forward. Then realizing that we are not Cameroonians, we are not compatible. Then through research, this is where we are today. It was not an event that triggered me. It was studies and research. Some are moved by events, the next election, the next win, the next move. No, let's study and we can spark change even when nothing is happening. And that is what we'll do. So whatever Issa Tchiroma is doing is not moving us. We are grounded.
They don't see us as humans. They treat us as pawns because when they look onto us, they see but our resources in the subsoil. They don't see human beings moving around there. And this is what we have to be very conscious of.
Yeah, that is the emotional language. That is the emotional language. I mean, we want our freedom. That is what we want. We are not here to prove a point. Whether they are out for our resources, when we get there, we will look at the contracts that govern those areas that have to do with trade, business, resources. There's time for that. And then when we get there, we'll look at those contracts, we'll make amendments or cancel them altogether if we don't look at the terms and they are good for us. But when we say they look at us as though we are not human, I refuse to think that way. But whoever thinks that way or feel that way, you got to deal with it. I am who I am. And I know who I am. And the world wants to deal with people that know who they are. Not people that show up as victims, people that have been beat up. Everybody's after you, they hate you. You will have to see me as a human. Do you understand what I'm saying? You will have to. That is why you see I put this time in and study and present my facts clear. You will see us as humans. Whoever feels we are subhuman, I don't think people see me that way. Number one. So I'm not out here fighting people. I don't even think that way. And so we have to be emotionally stable to push this case to the end.
We have to know that we are who we have always been.
To do a critical and honest appraisal, has anything changed in the legal system in Abazonia since this war started? In other words, did Cameroon kind of felt a sense of remorse and say, let's do something about the grievances of the lawyers and of the educational system? Has that happened?
No. In fact, you would like to know that most of the Francophone magistrates and judges are still within our territory. In fact, the higher judicial council, let me just tell you, the higher judicial council that does transfers of magistrates and promotion has not sat since this problem started.
And that's it. So nothing has changed. So what we get from the ground from barrister is nothing has changed. So for 9 years, the young men have been in the bush fighting. In Yaoundé, nothing has changed. Again, they can't help us. They don't have jurisdiction. Number one, they don't have the legal power to help us. Now, let's run through some of the 5 layers. The 5 layers, this is a phrase I've coined out. Feel free to use it, but quote me. This is the 5 layers of ignorance we have been dealing with. And I had to put a framework around this. So let's run over it. Nothing has changed. So now we want things to change moving forward. And it would start with knowledge, not guns. The right information. So the number 1 point is ignorance of status. So we have to understand that we were a trust territory. Always use that. Under the British administration, not a country. So we are not a country. So we are a UN trust territory and not a region of another country. So they call you Northwest region, Southwest region. We're not a region under another country. Number 2, that is ignorance of treaty requirements. Because this is the framework that we communicate and have someone understand or follow through with our logic. Resolution 1608 demanded negotiation, signing, ratification, and registration at the UN. But this treaty doesn't exist. International law, not Yaoundé law, not La République du Cameroon law, international law. So the ignorance of treaty requirement, they didn't know that. Again, I told you, Aijo had an education equivalent to Form 3, was a radio operator. So you should understand the people we are dealing with. Why Foncha, on the other hand, at least had an education equivalent to Form 5, went on to have his teacher's training license. So, number 3, ignorance of 1972. So, they saw the vote, but didn't know you cannot dissolve a union that never existed. La République thought they were dissolving a union or making changes within the framework of the union they had with Southern Cameroons. No, they were making changes within the framework of La République du Cameroon, using their constitution, using their laws, and that has no legal effect on Southern Cameroons. Does that make sense? Never confuse this. Teach your people, teach your children. Everyone should know this story. Number 4, ignorance of the exchange of notes. So some people went around saying the exchange of notes was the transfer of administrative authority, the transfer of sovereignty. Britain doesn't have sovereignty over the people of Southern Cameroons. Britain had administration, administering authority over us, given to them by the UN. Speak in that language, remain there, forget about whatever conspiracy people want to spread around, just stay on the facts. So a letter is not a treaty. Diplomatic letters are not treaties. So there was nothing about the relationship between Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroon regarding a treaty in that letter. Number 5, ignorance of 1984. Von Gojindika said that name change indicated that La République du Cameroon seceded from the union. There was no union. You can't secede from a union that never existed. La République simply went back to the name they had in 1960, La République du Cameroon. That has no legal effect on Southern Cameroons. They didn't dissolve a union because a union never existed. In order for a union to exist, we would have had a ratified document deposited at the UN. Germany, almighty Germany, when East and West Germany were reuniting, at least you can use reunite in that context. We are not having reunification in Cameroon. And they do that and they celebrate 20th May, they call it reunification. East and West Germany, when they came back together, they ratified it at the UN. They had to ratify a union treaty and deposit it at the UN. Now, the question is, what is the way forward? Now, before we look at that, I want you to understand some of the terms we have been using and the right ones to use. Reunification is one thing. It's wrong. Like I said, there's nothing like reunification. German colony is not a UN trust territory. As time changes, we should upgrade our information, understand how international politics work. So instead, the attempted political union that was never completed. That's what we have with La République du Cameroun, not reunification. Number 2, integration. Join Cameroon. So the correct term is union treaty that was never signed, ratified, or deposited. So all the integration, join Cameroon, all this kind of confusion. I told you, if you look at all the French-speaking nations colonized by France, these are classic examples that this is not conspiracy theory. You can see that most nations colonized by France are struggling in different parts of the world, including Haiti. This is an objective observation. So we cannot use the word integration, join Cameroon. There was no join. You have to show a union treaty. So you've heard the correct term, a union treaty that was never signed, ratified, or deposited at the UN. So integration requires a treaty. Decentralization they talk about requires a treaty. Let's establish a federation here. You require a treaty to do that. If La République will want blessings over their land, they have to go back and follow the law. If not, we will struggle. Black people, we have been through pain a lot. Let's just follow the law. Just doing that, we will have the blessings of God and our ancestors over our land. We don't have one yet. Number 2, the Federal Republic was dissolved. This is the correct term. You cannot dissolve what never legally began. So no treaty, no union, nothing to dissolve. Number 4, we separated in 1984. That was the premise for the formation of Ambazonia. We separated in 1984. No. Mbia restored the 1960 state identity of La République du Cameroun. Just identity change. That has no legal implication on Southern Cameroons. Let that be underscored. So that will be an emotional separation, right? Imaginary separation. So number 5, exchange of notes is equal to a union, even if the exchange of notes had something to do with Southern Cameroons. It is not a union. So exchange of notes is equal to the administrative notification and not a treaty. Aijo united the country. This is what you hear of our Francophone counterparts saying. Aijo united the country, and they celebrate him for that. People can go on with ideas like this forever, my people. It has happened in many countries around the world. And so we are not the first. North Koreans are going through that. The Germans went through that. Aijo attempted to form a union without a binding legal instrument. That is exactly what happened. So that was his intent, but without a treaty, you can't have a union. No signature, we didn't have that. Fumban was not a legal merger. Fumban was an event created so we can have conversation on the federal structure of the country they intended to create based on the positive plebiscite, but it never created a union. That should be underscored. Number 7, reunification fathers. You've heard things like that. So the correct term is the delegates to an incomplete constitutional conference. That is what Fumban looks like. They are not the founding fathers or reunification fathers. Define their proper role based on what actually happened. So Fumban was not a constitutional signing. Because some people say they sold us at Fumban. Fumban was not a constitutional signing. Union Treaty was stolen, burned, or lost. Some people say things like that. It's absurd. They excuse me. So no treaty exists in the UN, UK, or La République's archives because none was ever created. White man doesn't hate you. And that's why when people try to tag France on this, if France was really involved, they are just out for their interest. And if you sell a merchandise that was supposed to be sold for $1,000, you decide to sell it for $200, there's always someone to buy. And when that individual buys, you don't run after the buyer. Go after the seller. If that seller is tied to you in one way or another, go after the seller. Why did you sell the product at that price? Right? We've studied these things in business and many other sectors. So, because none was ever created. Facts, my people, not conspiracies. Okay. We are fighting for justice. That's what some people say. We are fighting. We want justice. We want justice. We want justice. Without jurisdiction, you can't find justice. Without the right jurisdiction, you will never have justice. The legal minds can back me up on this. So we are asserting jurisdiction and legal status. That is the first place. Justice comes after jurisdiction. No, we want independence. That is what some say. We want justice. No, we want jurisdiction. Truth and jurisdiction. And then we can follow justice. We want independence. No, the correct term, my brother. We are completing an uncompleted decolonization process. That is what we are doing here. It's an incomplete decolonization process. That is the proper way to word it. Independence is emotional. Decolonization is legal. Incomplete decolonization. And this is what people say about Britain. Britain did not sell us. Britain never owned us. Britain failed to complete its obligation as the administering authority under Article 76B. Therefore, the decolonization of Southern Cameroons remains legally incomplete. I rest my case. My lord. Let me read that again. Britain did not sell us because Britain never owned us. The words you use, life and death, is in the power of the tongue. By your words, you are condemned. Let me repeat that slowly. By your words, whether you have PhD, by your words, you are condemned. Britain failed to complete its obligations as the administering authority under Article 76B. Therefore, the decolonization of Southern Cameroons remains legally incomplete. So, country, reunification, handover, traded us, annexation, dialogue, independence. Stay away from these words. Terrible words to use. That is why you see, if you have a legal case, you get a lawyer for a purpose. Because if you were to represent yourself, you'll be too emotional. And if you had to go to prison just for 1 year, or the case had to be dismissed completely, brother, you can end up spending 15 or 20 years in prison for nothing because you said the wrong word. Words that are not supposed to be used in court, and it implicated you. That's why you get a lawyer to represent you. Even a doctor, most of them will not bring their own child into the world. They will let another doctor go through that process with the wife because you'll be emotional. And so the first step towards independence is to detach from emotions. Be factual. So independence is an emotional word. Incomplete decolonization. Decolonization. We want separation or cessation, or some people call you cessationist, terrorist. They use all sorts of terms to describe you. So this is the correct term. You cannot secede from a country you were never legally merged with. You were never legally merged with La République du Cameroon. So you cannot secede from La République du Cameroon. You cannot separate from La République du Cameroon. You are not part of La République du Cameroon legally. This is international law. Teach the people. So this destroy the enemy's narrative. When you use those words, you get trapped by the same enemy you're trying to free yourself from. I wish we'll go on to be neighbors. I've said we'll be using Douala Airport, Douala Seaport for some time. We'll continue to do business, have exchange programs. We don't have to turn this into enmity. Let La République du Cameroon go through this, learn, so that we can make these adjustments. They'll be redeploying their troops out of our land while we pursue this case legally based on 76B. So they should redeploy their troops. Your administering authority in our land is illegal. Let me repeat that slowly. La République du Cameroon's extension of their administration into our territory is illegal based on international law. Ambazonia versus Cameroon. So what is really going on here is these are two sovereignty parts that never legally merged. This reduces the tension and keeps you legal. Two sovereignty paths that never legally merged. Anglophone crisis. I've told you the real Anglophone crisis is pidgin English. That is the real Anglophone crisis. So the right word is the governance crisis caused by an uncompleted union. Everything falls back to uncompleted union, incomplete decolonization process. It falls back. That is the language that you should use. Southern Cameroonians are Cameroonians. You've heard people say that. Southern Cameroonians are Cameroonians. We became Cameroonians by learned acceptance, not legal legitimacy. And you can quote me on that. That is what I created. That line is superb. We became Cameroonians by learned acceptance, not by legal legitimacy. La République owns Southern Cameroon. You use your own mouth to cage your destiny. So La République administers the territory without a legal title. Do you understand? Without a legal title. National unity. So this is national narrative without legal foundation. National narrative within La République du Cameroon, not with Southern Cameroons. So national unity should be within La République du Cameroon. Issa, Tchiroma, Bakari, the North, Douala, the South, they are the ones to pursue national unity, not us. Mbia dissolved the federation. No, he reorganized a political structure that had no treaty base. He never. Our history is complicated. It is not complicated. Our history was never explained using proper legal vocabulary. It's not complicated. It's so easy to understand. And I've said this many times. We inherited confusion. La Republic confused their people. And by default, we were trying to understand their confusion. But rather, we clarify them why we remain calm. So we inherited confusion, not clarity. And that is why there are Anglophones out here today who believe that they are Cameroonians. Elders know the truth. That is what our people say. They believe. You see them running close to senior citizens. I mean, learn from them. We should learn. Their experience cannot be underestimated. What our elders have gone through, I respect them. They are the foundation we are standing on. But we upgrade it so that we all can be free. Return back home and build a nation that we all can be proud of. While we are still strong and agile. Elders know the truth. My people, elders lived the event, but were never given the legal framework to interpret them. So respect for the elders. The young people bring clarity. They work as one. Cameroon is indivisible. That is what they say. The correct term is a political slogan cannot override international law or the absence of a union treaty. A political slogan can never override international law. They united like Germany. Germany signed a ratified reunification treaty. Cameroon never did. Self-defense, legal status assertion under incomplete decolonization. We don't go with self-defense. Except somebody really gets into my house, we will correct them legally. Liberation movement. We've said that a lot. Liberation movement. So this is the correct term. Status clarification movement. We are clarifying our status. This is who we are. And we will find the proper jurisdiction to clarify our status. France controls everything. That is what some say. The correct term is domestic governance failure created a legal vacuum exploited by foreign interests. Stay objective, not emotional. Do you understand? Again, France controls everything. This is what you say. Domestic governance failure created a legal vacuum exploited by foreign interests. And the last, we want our country back. This is the correct term. We want the completion of our international legal status under Article 76B. This is how diplomats talk. That is why many people should not be running their mouth about this issue, claiming they know, sabotaging everything for everyone, and we remain in the same place. And then the same people will cook up a different story tomorrow as to why things never went well. Just because they want to be heard, than they really want genuine freedom for themselves and their people. That is our reality. But I think with this clarification, now we get to know. So the old language, reunification, secession, integration, independence, Anglophones, Francophones, federation, occupied by force, betrayal, colonial mentality, all of those kind of language, stay away from them. So we are dealing with incomplete union absence of treaty, jurisdiction, sovereignty path, trusteeship, Article 76B, administrative occupation, legal identity, status clarification, foundation of law. So this is what we deal with. It's quite different from what we have been told. And someone might say one good thing: we are not legally citizens of La République du Cameroon, and then they go on to use another language that just traps us. So, to speak the truths in parts, our job is to bring everything together, create a framework. Remember the framework we created for conflict resolution? Ignorance. We assume that you don't have information. So we have ignorance, we have cowardice, we have compromise, and we have justification. That is our framework for conflict resolution. So the first thing we start with is ignorance. We assume people don't know, so we teach. After they know, if they don't act on the truth, they are passive, they are cowards. And if they know the truth, they still do the wrong thing, they are compromising. And when they do that, they will justify. We won't take your justification, we'll correct you. So we start with ignorance. Always assume people don't know. With that, you're calm, and then you teach. If you assume people know, now we will turn it into a conflict immediately. That is why I follow this framework. Even in my explanation, I have this in the back of my mind. The framework for conflict resolution: number 1, ignorance. Number 2, cowardice. Number 3, compromise. And number 4, justification. Always assume people don't know. Educate. When you educate them, you will start looking at them as either a coward or somebody that compromise. You can't even trust this even in business. So if somebody can compromise, they're a coward, you can't even trust them when you do business or when you're building a nation. We are out here to build a country, not a joke. This is not Njangi. This is not some family business. This is a country. Because I see even the comments people make sometimes online, I'm shocked. Even under some of the videos we put here. I'm here not for content creation, but to clarify also that we have perspective on the framework to build a country. When you hear of a president or minister or a delegate from the UN, from the United States, from Germany, how do you feel? How do you think you will get there if you don't start thinking as citizens of that country that you want to build? Some come and insult Facebook or YouTube. These platforms shaped the past election in America more than the traditional media combined. So you're still living in the Stone Age if you don't understand the power of social media. You are in it, but you don't know what you are in. Social media has more power today. Facebook alone can control governments in most countries, can control the political narrative in most countries, just through adjusting the algorithm. I'm not saying they're doing that. I'm just showing you that it's possible for that to happen. Because what goes into your head controls your behavior and so shapes the narrative. So do not underestimate social media. This tool is more powerful than that government of La République du Cameroon. So don't take this lightly because you get it for free, or maybe you pay a little bit of money and you jump on the internet and now you're on Facebook. Take this and inspire change for your nation and for your people.